with the original broadcast fee.
1971 Plymouth Cuda is on the block right now. John, wait till you see the bidding here, folks.
Well, you want your Mopars rare? You don't even need a Hemi to do that. 440 cubic inches, optional V code. That's 390 horsepower out of that, what's referred to as a 6-barrel engine on the Plymouth Cuda. 410 gears, torque flight automatic. Expecting $1 million. We're close at $950,000.
We're there.
And we have hit it.
1 million, and the reserve is off.
And the reserve comes off at that number.
Wow.
Yep.
Go ahead with your thought, though, about why we're seeing this kind of money on this car.
Yeah, it's the rarity. It's the image of this car. This is as expensive as this is, substantially less than if this was a Hemi car.
Sold it. $1 million.
So there we go.
$1 million even.
And I think that really says a lot for the significance of Mecum Monterey, spanning all genres in the collector car world.
Well said. This is the 1973 Porsche 911 Carrera RS 2.7, a legendary car in the Porsche world on its own, John.
Right.
But it has a big-time celebrity connection as well.
Big time indeed, Scott. Probably one of the top automotive movie personalities of all time. The late Paul Walker personally owned this car. Of course, his fame from the Fast and Furious film franchise. All right, the reserve is off.
Wow.
We're at $875,000. Bidders in the house, bidders on the telephone.
Was just bid, asking $950.
I think that's going to be it.
Yeah.
Director of the Porsche Club of America.
$975,000 for a very significant Porsche 911 for many different reasons.
Scott, I'm so glad we've had a chance to showcase the storied Indianapolis-based manufacturer Marmon. The 16s built 1931 to 1933, and this particular we have 4 of them. This particular version right here, considered to be top of the line. 16 cylinders in a V configuration. Notice the aluminum cylinder heads. The block is also aluminum.
Lift the reserve. Okay.
There we go.
Momentum going.
Much anticipated,
keep
beginning to pay
everyone
off.
excited
The reserve comes off at $1,075,000.
And that was our man, Gus Kozar, on the phone with the consignor, Greg Dawson.
We got it.
Well,
There we
110
go.
years later, and you can still win on Monday and sell on Sunday.
$1.075 million, $1,075,000. This is from 2012. This is the mechanical development car, and it's unlike really any other Ferrari that we've seen.
No.
Still in that developmental stage.
Right, and the main purpose of this particular car was to get the engine, that V12 engine, mounted in the middle of the car, mid-engine, and the hybrid system to get all of that play. Final development on the body work, and more importantly than just the appearance of it, but the way that the aerodynamics played over the car. That was to come later. Here we go.
The reserve is off.
Excellent.
$1.45 million.
Boy, you're right about how the cut lines, the factory seams, and the body panels, a little bit out of plumb.
Yep, and just wait, it gets better. $1.45 million. The hammer price on that second phase LaFerrari Prototype.
300 SL, considered to be a world-class A-list collectible by any standard, with the price tags to match. But I have to say, in this particular shade of red with that saddle interior, it is a showstopper.
You know, you take a look at the Mercedes-Benz Black Series and others, not necessarily just the Black Series, and how they, from a styling standpoint, pay homage to this legendary 300 SL series back in the day.
It really, you're right, Scott. You know, the performance reputation of Mercedes-Benz, which is really a different end than their different strategy than their passenger cars, all began right here with these cars for obvious reasons. $1.55 million, the hammer price.
$2.1 million is the bid on a 1990 Ferrari F40, the last supercar commissioned by Enzo Ferrari himself, and the reserve is off at $2.1 million.
Scott, in many Ferrari and supercar owners' minds, this series of car, the F40, may represent the ultimate blend for the time period of racetrack performance and street car legality. Turbocharged, V8 engine, 478 horsepower, 5-speed manual transmission. The condition of this car is impeccable. It all paid off with a $2.1 million hammer price.
We have seen the reserve come off on this 2014 Bugatti, now at $2.4 million.
Scott, I think if there was one vehicle at this entire auction that people were around and curious on exactly what might happen with the sale, it was this vehicle. I can just say we have not been disappointed. $2.4 million. Reserve is off. What is going to happen?
I've walked by this car dozens of times this week, and not one time have I seen it sitting in the corner all by itself. It's always been surrounded by people taking pictures of the car, taking selfies with the car. The curiosity factor super high on this one. And there it is. Sells for $2.4 million at Mecum Monterey. Well, here is a 1936 Duesenberg Model J. This is a Ralston Coachwork Model J, a convertible Burline.
Well, this was the end of the road, and we rarely see what we would consider to be late Duesenbergs. It all ended right here. This car sold for about $17,000, and it was displayed at the 1936 New York Auto Show. It was the single most expensive car at that time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got news for you. If you're in the market for a
There we go.
that one's for sale.
The reserve is off.
Like I said before, you got a piece of history, ladies and gentlemen. You don't run into them every day. $2,450,000. Individual in the advance. $2,500,000 bid. Here's your last and final call. Last train out of town. $2,500,000
Here we go.
bid. Sold the car.
History changing hands with a $2.45 million sale of a 1936 Duesenberg.
A very significant high-performance Ferrari, Scott, with race history. It was the overall winner of the 1958 race at Monza. It has been impeccably restored. There is no question at all about the pedigree, the history, the authenticity of this car, powered by that legendary 3-liter overhead cam V12, about 260 horsepower was the rating. It's a 4-speed manual transmission.
Oh, my.
And we are at Mecum Monterey in full force, Scott, as the reserve comes off at $2.6 million.
You mentioned the restoration in 2012,
Right.
performed by the guys at Ferrari Classiche. And there's a Red Book factory certification that goes with this car. And it's about to change hands.
It's quite likely you could see cars like this up at Laguna Seca this week at the historic races.
$2.6 million. That is the hammer price for this amazing and historic 1958 Ferrari 250 GT.
Flat 6-cylinder engine, fuel injection, and a 5-speed manual transmission. And here with us today is Vu Nguyen, the executive director.